Hey yo! Hey everyone, Andrew here, bringing you another video review, and today we're going to be doing Batman Death in the Maidens. Take a look at this cover right here. Now, Death in the Maidens is a one-shot story arc that takes place roughly sometime after Batman Hush. Exactly when after Batman Hush, I'm not sure. I know it takes place after Batman Hush and before the war crimes, but I'm not quite sure where. I think it takes exactly after Batman Hush and before Broken City. With that said, Greg Rucka steps into the role of the writer on this story. And Greg Rucka is a fantastic writer. I enjoyed his stuff on Wonder Woman, and he even did Batman with Batman Fugitive and Murder. So he has a pretty good grasp of the characters that he writes. So I'm going to get into Greg Rucka in a little bit. Let's get into the story itself. So in Batman Death in the Maidens, there's really four main characters. Actually, technically three, but I'll say four. There's Ra's al Ghul, Batman, Talia al Ghul, and Ra's al Ghul's first child, his first daughter, whose name I don't quite remember. It begins with an N and is pronounced oddly, like Nisa, Nasa, whatever. I'll just call her Super Bitch. Actually, Bitch al Ghul. That'll work. So anyways, the story starts things off with Ra's al Ghul asking Batman to stop killing him. Because Batman is getting rid of all the largest pits in the world. And Ra's al Ghul considers that, murder. However, Batman doesn't think of it that way. Now, this is a very important thing that happens in the book, because Ra's al Ghul gives Batman an offering. He offers to allow Batman to talk with the dead in exchange for keeping the Lazarus pits around. And he gives Batman a little sample of this ability. Kind of tempting the Dark Knight, because, the Dark Knight, Batman, he would love to talk to his parents. That would be the number one thing he would want to do. So, Batman is obviously tempted. As much as Batman tries to stay strong, he's obviously tempted. In addition to that, we get Bitch al Ghul. Now, Bitch al Ghul is actually a pretty cool character, despite the name that I give her. She's a very complex character, and she's been around for a very long time. She's lived through a lot. And I mean a lot. So when you look at this character, you really get a sense that she's broken up inside from what she's been through. And everything in her life she blames Ra's al Ghul for. Her father. So her main motive in this whole entire story is to get back at Ra's al Ghul. To give him the ultimate humiliation and the ultimate defeat. And she feels as though she can do that through Talia al Ghul. Her half-sister. So she abducts Talia, kills her over 1,000 times, throws her into the Lazarus pit over 1,000 times, and the plot starts to thicken. So, it's really Talia al Ghul and Bitch al Ghul versus Ra's al Ghul, with Batman kind of torn in between. Now, I'm not going to go too much more into the story itself. However, I must warn you, later on in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, I will be making references to spoilers. I find people don't like the fact that I do tell a bit more of the story than other reviewers do, but I mean, oh well, live with it. So I am going to try to keep this, for the most part, spoiler-free. So, Death in the Maidens. Good, bad, and whether or not you should get it. Good. Well, let's just talk about Greg Rucka again. Greg Rucka is an artist, a writer that I really like, because his work on Wonder Woman, from I believe Bitter Enemies all the way up until Mission's End. I don't think he did the Paradise Lost, Paradise Found, but his run on Wonder Woman was absolutely fantastic, and it really put Wonder Woman in a position that, she hasn't been in before, and it mixed things up. The same thing on his run with Batman, with the Fugitive and Murder series. He really took Batman, put Batman in a position that, he'd never been in before. Keeping things with Batman nice and, new. So I was a little concerned on whether or not he was going to do Batman Death in the Maidens, because it's such a small story and he doesn't get that much time to mix things up. The first good thing is that Greg Rucka, for the most part, does a good job. He has a good feel of the characters. Every character feels in character itself, with the exception of Batman's parents, who do show up in a hallucination. Now, I believe it is a hallucination and not his actual parents, but they feel kind of awkward. But again, it's a hallucination, so they can be out of character. but for the most part, all the characters feel in character. And the new Agul, the bitch Agul he creates, is a very complex character, a very deep character, and I would like to see more of her. Like I said, just because I'm calling her bitch Agul doesn't mean I don't like her. The story flows pretty well too, going from one place to another to another to another. And it's really hard to actually separate the issues, although it does say when the issues separate, because it just has a constant flow to it that works very well. Ra's al Ghul is portrayed beautifully here, and in addition to that, you get to see a little bit more of his history, which is nice, because Ra's al Ghul has such a rich history. And the final resolve kind of leads into Grant Morrison's The Resurrection of Ra's al Ghul, because, again, spoiler alert, this is where we find out how Ra's al Ghul died. Ra's al Ghul got killed in this book, but it was part of Ra's al Ghul's ultimate plan, showing that he has control in the end. And the ending is fantastic in this because it's not the typical superhero wins the day kind of ending. Bad. There's very little bad I need to say about this. It doesn't have that much action, and I know that's not a big thing, but I would have liked to see a little bit more action. I actually would have liked a little bit more to this story so that we could develop the character, or at least see the character of Ra's al Ghul a bit more. But despite all that, the story itself is a pretty solid story. I would recommend it to Batman and Ra's al Ghul fans. If you're a person that likes to dip into the Batman comics every once in a while, then you probably should steer clear of this, because it won't appeal to you. Even if you're a hardcore Batman fan, I would probably weigh my options on whether or not you should get this. This is really directed more to Ra's al Ghul fans, because it is heavy on his mythos. Not like Ra's al Ghul shows up as the villain and Batman is the character. Actually, it's the Al Ghuls that are more of the main characters. So, if you're a big fan of Ra's al Ghul, then I do recommend picking this up because this is a great Ra's al Ghul story. If you're a big Batman fan, big, you're probably going to pick it up anyways because of the Batman story. If you're a casual Batman fan, or if you just dip into Batman every once in a while, then you might want to steer clear and get some of the other Batman stories. But despite saying this, I did enjoy this. Is it worth the $20? I wouldn't say 20. I got it for $5 at Comic-Con. But get it online if it's cheap if you do want to get it. Because, Greg Marker does do a good job writing this. So I'm going to end the review here. This is Andrew saying peace out for now.